Hello and welcome back to another one of my FPL videos. I of course am the FPL train, and in this video we're going to be looking at some transfer plans ahead of game week 21. Now obviously the Premier League isn't on this weekend, so we've got an extra week to wait before game week 21 kicks off, as it's FA Cup this weekend. So we've got plenty of time to decide on what transfers we want to make ahead of game week 21. But before I show you my ideas ahead of game week 21, let's look back on game week 19, not 20, because I didn't do a video for game week 20, so we're looking at players that I recommended in game week 19 and see how they got on in game weeks 19 and 20. Now, as you can see, the three players I got on here, starting us off, I decided I recommended to bring in Kyle Walker for obviously Lascelles, who is, he was injured in game week 18. He did come back in game week 20 in the last few minutes against Liverpool for Newcastle, so he did only get that 1 point, whereas Kyle Walker did come away with 8 points in the last 2 game weeks. Not actually as much as I expected. I did think he was going to get 2 clean sheets in the last 2 games, but that didn't happen. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, I don't actually own him, so it doesn't bother me too much, but I wasn't expecting Everton to score against Man City, but either way, they did get the clean sheet against Sheffield United, which I did feel like was pretty much guaranteed, really, because it was mostly at home. So 8 points for him, so that one was a good plan to go for if you went for him. The other two, not so much. So obviously, Son absolutely smashed it the last 2 game weeks. He got a goal and an assist in the last 2 games. He's come away with 14 points, whereas Odegaard, who obviously got that goal in game week 18 against Liverpool, hasn't performed since. He's got 2 points in each of the games, coming away with just 4 points. And obviously Arsenal have had a bit of a pretty shocking Christmas, really, haven't they? So only 4 points. So if you did make the transfer of Son out early, because obviously he's going to the Asia Cup now, yeah, that one would have bit you pretty hard, especially if you actually went for Odegaard. You would have lost out on 10 points there, so not the greatest, is it, really? So yeah, that one was an absolute disaster of a recommendation, and so was the last one. So obviously, I said get rid of Darwin Núñez, like I have actually myself, and he came away with 13 points. Again, like Son, got a goal and an assist in the last 2 games. I mean, this is a guy that was getting you nothing, and the last 2 game weeks, he's now come away with 13 points. I mean, come on, man. What's going on? Obviously, I recommended Erling Haaland, but if you watched the video for the game week 19 transfer plans, I did say if we find out he isn't fit for game week 19, get in Julio Alvarez instead, and he did actually come away with 14 points. So he did actually have 1 more point than Núñez in the last 2 game weeks. But I'm going to put Haaland on here because obviously he was my main guy who I recommended to bring in for game weeks 19. And obviously that hasn't worked out. So yeah, pretty disastrous really with those two, particularly those two, Odegaard and Haaland. Obviously if you did listen to the video and heard it, I said Alvarez as a possibility if Haaland is out, then yeah, 2 out of 3 isn't too bad. But yeah, for sure bringing in Odegaard for Son was an absolute disaster. Hopefully, the transfers I recommend for game week 21 turn out much, much better. So then, with the first transfer out I've got on here, it's Kieran Trippier. Now, this guy is highly priced. He's 6.8 million, so he has gone down in price because his height was 7 million. And the reason is he's on a terrible, terrible run, man. It's been absolutely awful. Ain't got a clue what happened when he got sent home early for England or he left home early, but he's been an absolute mess since. 1 point against Everton. He got a -1 against Spurs. Newcastle kept the clean sheet against Fulham, but he didn't play. Then he got 2 points against Luton, 1 point against Forest, and then in the game just gone against Liverpool, he didn't even play. Apparently he has a groin injury or whatever it is. He was out injured. So big, big problems with Kieran Trippier. And the biggest issue, like for an owner like myself, who had him for those great highs at the start of the season, it's really tough to get rid of him. Honestly, it really is. But I have to forget at the start of the season and really just focus on these last 6 games that he's been involved in. Well, 2 of them he's been out. So it's been a horrible run. And game week 21, he's got Man City at home and then Aston Villa away. Doesn't get any better, really, does it? I mean, obviously, he does play Luton. That's going to be at home. So maybe he has a chance if he's fit. Like we said, we don't know how long this groin injury is going to be. I expect him to be back by then anyway, because obviously we've got international break and FA Cup in between all these game weeks coming up between game week 21 and 23 anyway. So he could come back for that, but 6.8 million, is it worth keeping for a guy that's just not performing right now and might not even be fit for game week 21? So definitely high on my list to get out, and I definitely would recommend getting rid of him. And obviously his replacement, Estupiñán, what a player he is. We all had him at the start of the season. He was unbelievable at the start. We kept saying, if only Brighton could keep a clean sheet, he would be getting hauls every week. Obviously, he did get that injury and he's been out for some time. He came back in game week 19, came on about, what was it, half time or something for Spurs for an injury. Come on, scores an absolute screamer, gets you 6 points. Buzzing, he's back. Will he start against West Ham in game week 20? He did. Played a full 90 minutes and they got a clean sheet. 6 points, 12 points from the last 2 games. He's obviously 4.9 million, so he's much cheaper than Trippier. He's got great attacking, obviously, pedigree in him. We've all watched him play. And obviously, Brighton's fixtures coming up are amazing. So, obviously, coming up in the next 4 fixtures, he's got, Wolves at home, Luton away, Crystal Palace at home, and then it's Spurs away, which is slightly tougher. But then after Spurs, you got Sheffield United, Everton, Fulham, and Forest. That takes you right up to March with great fixtures for him. So he's going to be in your team for quite some time. He's cheaper. He's got better fixtures. I believe he's going to be back. Obviously, there is that risk of rotation with Brighton. But with Trippier playing as he is, I think it's probably the right time now to take him out and bring in Estupiñán. Definitely said that wrong. But either way, it's like it's just been set in stone. It was made to be. Bring him in for Trippier. It's the right thing. He's cheaper, better fixtures. It seems like the perfect time, the perfect transfer. So with my next transfer on here, it's a tough one, I'm not going to lie. It's taking out Mohamed Salah. Now, if you bought him at the start of the season, you're going to find it quite tough to take him out of your team. So you would have bought him at 12.5 million. He's now currently 13.2 million. Ideally, you want him to eventually go down in price to about 12.8 million. You don't want to lose too much. You hate if he just stays around that 13 million mark, and you've got to fork out some extra money. Yes, you would have made some money out of him by selling him, but he's still going to be at such a high price from when you first bought him at 12.5 million. But anyway, that's not the only thing as well. Obviously, he absolutely smashed it against Newcastle. I mean, let's face it, that second penalty wasn't a penalty, but he got lucky after obviously missing that first penalty. So he got an absolute haul of points in game week 20. So it's going to make other people a lot harder for them anyway to want to transfer him out. But the thing is, with Salah in your team, and I'm talking about African Cup of Nations here, he's going to be one of the favourites to go quite far with just because he's in that team alone. So he could be out your team for quite some time. So it might be worth getting rid of him. But honestly, it's going to be a tough decision, particularly as well if you own Son as well, because both of them are so, well, price-wise, they've gone so high up from when they first obviously started at the start of the season. There's a lot of value you're going to lose by selling both of these guys. Mohamed Salah is obviously going to be tough because it just smashed it yet again. But, you know, the fixtures aren't exactly the best. Well, even then, it's completely irrelevant because he's not going to be playing. But anyways, you don't want 13 million just sat on your bench. So that's why I'm recommending Jarrod Bowen, who's just gone up in price yet again now. He's 8.1 million. And the next 2 fixtures, particularly anyway, are really nice for West Ham. You've got Sheffield United away, which is always a nice fixture. Although, obviously, since the new manager's coming at Sheffield United, he has tightened up a lot, particularly at home. So, maybe it's not as easy as a fixture, obviously, on paper. But still, you'd expect, obviously, West Ham to get a goal and Bowen to probably nick a goal in that game. Bournemouth also on a good run. That is possibly a tough game, but you just got to hope, because it's at home, West Ham can overcome that fixture. Man United isn't as difficult as it looks on paper. Obviously, they just beat them 2-0 as well, just over the Christmas period. So I'd be confident if I was a West Ham fan going into that game as well. Obviously, as well, it's going to be at, obviously, West Ham's ground as well. So even more reasons to be hopeful that Bowen can get a goal. So that I won't really have that down as a red or a grey fixture, whatever they're calling it. I'll definitely have it down as a green one. And then even after Arsenal, which is going to be tough, they're on a bad run at the minute. I'm sure they would have picked it up by then. But after that, they've got a decent run of Forest, Brentford, Everton and Burnley. So he could be good long term. Obviously, at the minute, this is just short term for Mohamed Salah being out. But yeah, Jarrod Bowen, I feel like he's one of the better picks in midfield to go for. There's not really a great deal amount to go for, if I'm being honest. Because the guys that most people want probably already have. And obviously those who have obviously Salah and Son, they've got a lot to think about whether to go for both of them out or one of them out. But either way, if you want one of them out, definitely get Bowen as a replacement, because I do think he is the best option. And with my final transfer on here, it's going to be a bit of a surprise one really. It's taking out Dominic Solanke for Pedro. Now, I know so many people are saying to bring in Solanke. He's getting close now to essential. I'm going to disagree with that right now, and I'll tell you why. I'm somebody who's owned now Solanke for quite some time now. I saw the run of fixtures that will come in. I saw how Bournemouth were playing. They look pretty decent. And I do think that's come to probably a halt for now. Now, obviously, he's blanked for one game week against Spurs. Big whoop. Obviously, I could be completely wrong. He could smash it now. But I'm looking at the fixtures and I'm thinking, Liverpool at home, I don't see him scoring. West Ham away, I think it's going to be a struggle. Nottingham Forest have a new manager now. That's going to be a lot tougher. Fulham away, yeah, I reckon he could score there. Newcastle away, now I know he scored 2 goals against Newcastle at home not so long ago. I don't see that happening again. Man City at home, I don't see that happening. Game week 27 is where I see him scoring goals again. He's going to have Burnley, Sheffield United, Wolves, Everton, Crystal Palace, Luton, and then Manchester United. That is the run of fixtures I want Solanke for. Not the first several ones that I mentioned up to Man City. That is a horrible run. I don't see the point of having him for those fixtures. I think he's going to struggle. And for me personally, I think I'll just sit him on my bench for most of those fixtures anyway. He's 7.1 million now. It's quite expensive. I had him obviously at 6.4 million. Now I can sell him around about 6.7 million. But I'm telling you now, I know some of you just bought him in, but I think you've got to get rid of him really. I don't like the look of those fixtures. So that's why, and he's not a differential anymore. He's 27% owned right now. I don't think it's worth having him in your team. But obviously there is the fact that he is going to be a 90-minute man and on penalties for Bournemouth. So that is a pro against Pedro, who obviously, he's not guaranteed 90 minutes, but he is obviously on penalties. But that's the problem. He's not guaranteed 90 minutes. Now, when we look at, obviously, Pedro the last few game weeks now, the last 3 game weeks during the Christmas period, he's played all 90 minutes. Now that, might come to surprise some people, because obviously we expect rotation when it comes to Brighton, and the fact that he started all 3 of those games, I think that tells us maybe he might be starting a few extra. Obviously, it's always going to be a gamble. He could easily get dropped in any fixtures coming up. But I do think the fact as well, we've got FA Cup, international break, he will possibly start at least the next 2. So obviously, he got those hauler points, 2 goals and assists against Spurs in game week 19. He did blank against West Ham in that 0-0 draw, but he played 90 minutes. And he also played 90 minutes in the 1-1 draw, obviously, against Crystal Palace. Now, he did play just half an hour against Arsenal, which is an issue, but before that, he played again a 90-minute game against Burnley. Only 68 minutes against Brentford, so that probably is a bit of a worry. And only half an hour against Chelsea, but he did get obviously a goal in that game. But yeah, he is a gamble because he's a minutes risk, but obviously the last 3 games, like I just said, he did play full 90 in all 3. Maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe he will get dropped for the Wolves game. But like I said, this is the reason why I think we should get Pedro in our team. So 21, he's got Wolves. 22 is Luton. Then it's Crystal Palace. 24, he's got a tough one against Spurs. But they've got injury problems at the back. They're leaking goals. Brighton like to score goals. There's a good possibility he can score there. Then after that, 25, you're looking at Sheffield United. Then it's Everton, Fulham, and then Nottingham Forest. Now, you could take him out early for maybe the Forest game week 28, and bring in Solanke then. And then Solanke's got that great run, because obviously, after game week 28, Brighton have a horrible run of Man City, Liverpool, Brentford, and Arsenal coming up. So, for me personally, I just think it's absolute perfect timing. Take Solanke out for this run of fixtures, bring in Pedro, and then change it back round towards the end of the season. Obviously, like I said before, Pedro is a massive minutes risk. At least with Solanke, you're guaranteed 90 minutes of football every game week, whereas obviously Pedro, it's going to be a guessing game. But I feel like maybe I still think possibly anyway, he will earn more points than Slanky over these next run of fixtures because they're just so much better. So that's why, and obviously Brighton are a better team. So we'll have to see how that goes. But let me know what you think about these transfers that I've recommended. Obviously, Slanky to obviously Pedro is going to be a massive, massive gamble if you want to go for it. It's high on my list. Obviously, I do have other issues as well, so I can't just make it straight away. But it's something I'm seriously considering about doing, and I definitely think, anyways, you guys should consider it too. So let me know what you think about these transfers and what transfers you reckon we should be doing ahead of Game Week 21 and onwards. Please don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you all on the next one.